Hi everyone, welcome to Classroom Blend Taglish Talks with Julan. I am Julan Tanglon, a third year BSc English major, and today I want to talk about something very close to my heart and probably familiar to many future educators like me, which is the code switching in the classroom. Before anything else, let me start with this question. Have you ever been in a class listening to your teacher speaks in straight English and you just didn't get it? Well, I have. And I'll be honest, back in high school, I really struggled with English. Even simple instructions or short readings would confuse me. I remember pretending I understood just to avoid being called out. I wanted to learn, I really did, but my brain just couldn't catch up. I'd look around and see some of my classmates feeling the same way. And then, the moment our teacher switched to Tagalog or even a bit of Rinconada, like boom, we understood. Just like that. That's when I realized the quiet power of code switching. It wasn't just about language, it's about giving us access to the lesson. So, what is code switching? Code switching is simply shifting from one language to another. In our case, from English to Tagalog or Taglish. Some people think it's a sign of weakness or laziness, but honestly, it's a powerful teaching strategy, especially here in the Philippines where not everyone is fluent in English. Let's be honest, not all students have the same exposure to English at home or in their communities. For many of them, the classroom is the only place where they hear it regularly. So when we use English all the time with no support, we may be unintentionally shutting some students out. As a future English teacher, I've already observed classrooms where this happens. Some students just stay quiet the whole period, not because they are not smart, but because they feel disconnected. That fear builds a wall between them and learning. But when we switch to Tagalog at the right moment to explain, to clarify, or to connect, it's like we're opening a door. Suddenly the lesson more feels more reachable, more human. And that's the point, isn't it? Education is not just about delivering content. It's about reaching our students. Here's what I've learned as a future teacher. When I was a high school student, code switching honestly saved me. I remember feeling so frustrated during reading exercises because I didn't fully understand what I was reading. The vocabulary was hard, the sentence structures were confusing, and sometimes I didn't even understand the question being asked. But when my teacher paused to explain in Tagalog, everything became clear. It made me feel seen, like my struggle mattered. Now, as an English major and soon to be a teacher, I see how I can take that experience and turn it into a strategy for my future students. I don't want any of my students to feel the way I felt confused, anxious, and silent. Of course, we still have to encourage the use of English. We're English teachers after all. But let's be real. If our students don't understand, they won't learn. So for me, code switching is not a sign of giving up on English, but a bridge towards it. I plan to use it to support comprehension, build confidence, and slowly guide students into expressing themselves more in English at their own pace. Now let's look at some common classroom situation. Let's take a moment to imagine a typical classroom situation. The teacher is explaining a lesson on a complex topic, let's say conditional sentences. She says, "Today we'll discuss the zero, first, second, and third conditionals. Each of these expresses different levels of possibility or imagined scenarios." Now, for students who are already confident in English, that might make sense. But for many high school students, that statement can feel overwhelming. Zero, first, imagine, it's a lot to process. Now, imagine the same teacher follows it up with class kat yan. Kapag sinabi nating zero conditional, yan yung mga facts or general truths. For example, if you heat water, it boils. Pero kapag first conditional, possibility in the future naman. Like, if it rains, I will bring an umbrella. With just a short switch to Taglish, the students gain clarity. The lesson becomes less intimidating. And what happened next? They start answering. They start engaging. This is a simple but powerful reminder that code switching doesn't mean dumbing down the lesson. It means making space for everyone to understand and participate. To my fellow BSED students and future teachers out there, Don't be afraid to switch. Use it wisely, intentionally, and with purpose. You're not corrupting the language. You're helping your students connect. We must speak the language of our learners before we expect them to speak ours. Here are four simple tips I plan to follow. First, observe the room. Before jumping into an explanation in full English, take a second to read the class. Are they following along? Are they nodding just to look like they understand? Or do they actually get it? If you sense hesitation or blank stares, that's your clue. A little code switching might help clarify your point. It's about knowing when to step in with a better explanation in the language your students feel safe with. Next, don't overdo it. Code switching should be a strategy, not the entire approach. We're still teaching English, so we need to build exposure to the language. Use Taglish only when necessary. For tough concepts, tricky instructions, or moments when engagement starts to drop. The goal is to use Tagalog to support, not replace English. Third, encourage effort, not perfection. When students try to express themselves in English, even if it's not perfect, celebrate the effort. If they switch to Tagalog halfway through, that's okay. Guide them back gently. Instead of saying, that's wrong, try, good try. Let's say it this way. This makes students feel more comfortable and willing to try again. And lastly, translate key terms, not the whole lesson. Don't feel like you have to explain everything in Tagalog. Instead, pick out the most important or most confusing parts of the lesson, like new vocabulary, abstract concepts, or complex grammar rules. Give a quick explanation in Tagalog or Taglish, then go back to English. That way, you're still building language skills while keeping the lesson accessible. Most of all, let's never forget what it feels like to be the one who doesn't understand. Because once you've been there, you'll teach with more empathy and patience. And your students will feel that. To wrap things up, code switching, when done right, brings accessibility, clarity, and connection to our classrooms. It reflects who we are as a Filipinos, multilingual, flexible, and full of heart. As future educators, we're not just teaching subject. As future educators, we're not just teaching subjects. We're building bridges, and sometimes the language we choose is the material that holds that bridge together. So that's it for today's episode. Thanks for turning to Classroom Blend Taglish Talks with Julan. If you've ever experienced the power of code switching, whether as a student or as a teacher, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to message or comment on our class page. Until next time, keep teaching with purpose and keep blending with heart. That's all. Thank you.